Welcome to my channel. This video is what I hope to be a new series that I'm going to call This or That. Often when I start to create, I get multiple ideas for what I want to do. In This or That, I'm going to take two of those paths and run with it, ending up with two similar but different projects or pages. After watching the entire video, I want you to vote for which one you like the most or would be most likely to try. So let's get started with this or that. So I am working in my accidental art journal, and in here I have a bunch of backgrounds that are ready to go. So I'm going to choose from there. So I'm going to choose two different backgrounds. Now there's this one that's very vintagey, it's got music paper underneath, and this one which is more modern and bright and colorful. What I'm going to use on both of them is this focal image from this napkin. It's called Girl with a Pearl Earring. So I'm just cutting out the focal image, and I like how the colors work with both of these backgrounds. The blue that's on her, the gold that's on her, seems to match both of these. So I'm undecided which background would be best. So I'm not making the choice. I am simply going to do both. So I'm cutting out the focal image and getting off the excess plies. Sometimes they come easy, sometimes they take harder. And I'm just going to glue these down onto copy paper. This is recycled copy paper. You can see there's scribbles on it. There might be something on the other side. And I'm gluing this down with my fluid matte meeting. I'm putting a coat underneath and on top. And the reason I'm going to glue this onto copy paper is I don't want whatever's in the background to come through and distort my focal image. And it's going to be way easier to cut off all that black around her once it's on the copy paper. So I showed you one way. Now this napkin has her facing the same way. If I want to invert the way that she is facing, I can glue the napkin upside down. You can see I'm putting the good side down, and then I'm putting the matte medium on top. And I'm going to show you once this is dry that for the most part the image is pretty close. So here are the two images. One's just got a little bit, it's a little grainier, a little bit more faded, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to colorize them. So once they're completely dry, I am just cutting off the excess black right around my focal image. Nothing difficult here, just simple cutting. You don't need to see me cut them out. So now I'm going to play with the composition. Do I want her looking this way? Do I want her looking that way? And again, we have multiple choices with no right answers and no wrong answers. It's merely what you like, what catches your eye, and where you want to go with it. In any given page, you are having multiple answers. So you can see here, I can put it in this orientation or I could put the other one, but I'm going to be working with whatever set backgrounds that I have. So I'm putting this, I take pictures along the way, and just make the best decision that you can. Now the backgrounds, as lovely as they are not done. I can now work with my focal image and make my background work with that. So for here I have this stained glass mandala stencil from the Crafters Workshops, and I'm stenciling with white acrylic paint over top of that navy. I didn't want that whole navy and I needed something there. Then I decided I wasn't really happy with it. So I'm adding some blue around the edge to tie in with the background, to tie in with the blue on the focal image. You want whatever you're adding to enhance it, not to dominate. So I'm just wiping back some of this everything I have on here is permanent, so I can remove. Now I want to grunge this up. I'm going to add some script stamp, and I'm putting black paint on my script stamp with a makeup sponge, and I'm just adding that script throughout the background. My job right now is to make this background work with the focal image. So I keep bringing that in and making decisions. What does it need? And sometimes I don't know where that's going to take me. It's not something I know. Usually you're adding texture, you're adding pattern, you're adding different sizes. Now that white was just too glaring white, so I decided I'm going to give it a wash of Prussian blue. Now I know that Prussian blue is already used in the background, so I'm just kind of neutralizing that, but you're still seeing that pattern, but it's not overtaking the focal image. Now, full disclosure, I still didn't like this right now. It was bothering me. It wasn't quite done, but you're not done till you're done. So I'm playing again with the focal images. Do I want her looking this way, or do I want her looking the other way? And at some point you have to say, just make a decision. So I'm grabbing my gel medium and I'm going to glue the focal image down. And I'm using gel medium instead of the fluid medium because with the copy paper and the napkin, it's thicker, and I find the gel medium works better. But if all you have is fluid medium, use it. So I'm giving that a coat. The gel medium will dry completely clear. I'm wrapping up my brush because I know I'm going to glue more stuff down. Now I want to colorize the girl. I want the colors that she have to be enhanced so she stands out. Now here I'm just enhancing the colors that are, sticking with the blue and the gold, but I could have wiped this or put a coat of white gesso on it and totally have changed the colors of my focal image. So I didn't do that on either page, but I could have. So if I had picked a background that was totally different colors, I could have turned that blue into more of a teal, or I could have turned the gold into red if I wanted to. So you're never really stuck with the focal image. So here I'm just adding the whites back in, just enhancing the colors so that she is forefront, not the mandala stenciling. Now this is just too blue, so I'm taking a bit of neon yellow and giving it a wash. And I know that there's neon in that background because I can tell. And right away when I added that, it just really matches the background better. It ties everything together. You want all your elements to work together. Even the patterns, you got those diamond or triangle shapes in the mandala, they match the diamond shapes that were stamped in the background, which is why I chose that stencil. So while you can substitute a different stencil and get the similar effect, you still want your elements to work together. Now I'm just adding some shading around the girl. Again, the object of the shading is to make her stand out from the background. If you like the idea of this and that, me showing you two ways of using a focal image or the same background, same scrapbook paper, let me know in the comment section. That lets me know if you're interested in the series. So now I'm shading on the outside of the girl, and this really works to set off the girl from the background. And I'm adding a little bit of shading on the mandala with black. Now I also went to black that swoop in front of her face. It was Prussian blue before, and I needed it to be black. The blue was too blue, and didn't seem to make as cohesive a page in my mind in the moment that I was creating. I'm edging with the black as well, and you can see how every little thing I do is making it all work together. I cut out a sentiment from my It's About Time sentiment pack. I think the full saying was time is precious, waste it wisely, but I didn't want the other part. So I have the luxury of using whatever part of the sentiment I want. I can also size it to fit. Just adding a little bit of red colors to her lips here. Now I put the quote on top of the mandala because I thought it was competing, and I wasn't 100% happy with the mandala at that stage. I want to introduce a little bit of red in the background to go tie in with her lips. So I'm just watered down the paint and just splattering. That white again was too white, so I'm just giving it a wash of yellow oxide. Just to make it, now it ties in with her dress. And I'm adding a little bit of that yellow on the mandala again. I'm working to make everything work together. And sometimes you keep revisiting something till you get it where you want it to be. And I'm just adding a little bit of that yellow oxide to the background. It's kind of I'm putting it over top of where the neon yellow was. Again, I'm trying to make my background go with the girl's dress a little bit more. At this point, I thought I was done, and actually I went to the other page, and then I wanted some red on here. So I grabbed my bubble wrap, and I'm getting red acrylic paint, and I'm stamping on it. And it was like, yes. Adding this grunge and the circle, it just, I don't know, somehow made everything work together better in my mind. So I was, at this point, I really, really liked what I saw. Who knew? So there was the background that I started with, and here's where I ended up. Quite the transformation. And here's another option that I came up with afterwards. I could take the girls and put them opposing, looking both ways, and then put a sentiment. What sentiment would you put for that one? So I had the red paint out, and I decided I'm just going to add a little bit more to this vintage grungy background, which I absolutely loved. But I was liking the red on the other one, and I just wanted to take what was more orangey and turn it into red so it fit better. Remember, the background, or the gel print, or the scrapbook paper, is just the beginning. Then I got the idea to do some patterning with that red. So I grabbed this stencil. It is one of my favorites, goes so well on vintage papers. It is, I forget what it's called. I'll put it in the description box. It is by the Crafters Workshop. So I just want some of this pattern in this vintage here. The problem is when you have a background that you love, you're so afraid of wrecking it that we don't add more and make it even better. So there we go. We have a lot going on. We've got the cloudy effect. There's papers shining through. So I'm grabbing this stamp, faded type, and I'm going to do some stamping on this. Remember, I felt this page was very vintage, so I really want to go vintage. So I'm stamping these numbers. I'm Applying the black acrylic paint with my 2.5 brayer. Adding that on there, and then I have another section of the type that's really like old English newspaper, and I'm loving this, the addition. It's grunging it up a little bit, adding more layers and adding more interest. As much as I loved it, I thought, hey, what would happen if I stamped in white? Kind of my new favorite thing, stamping with white. So I thought, I'm going to try it. And I liked it. So I just kept going. So I stamped with black with that one stamp and then with white. And it just adds a little something to it. I don't know. Do you like the stamping with white? Loving that background. So now I'm ready to glue the girl down, and a lot of the steps coming up are very similar to the first page. The difference here is which background. Should I go vintage with this, or should I go with those brighter colors? So a lot of both of these pages are not too different, but the path was very different. I'm gluing that down. I wanted a little bit more of that red, and I wanted it actually, the stenciling on top of her, so it looks like it included her. So it looks almost like she's in a field of flowers. Now I'm edging the page with the black acrylic paint. Doing some shading around the girl to make her stand out, just like I did on the first one. A lot of these finishing techniques are the same no matter what. And then I'm brightening the colors of the focal image to make her stand out from what is a very interesting but busy background. I looked around my room, I found this piece of lace, and I'm using the yellow oxide, wetting the lace, and I am colorizing the lace because I'm going to incorporate this lace onto my art journal page. It's going to add some texture, some dimension, and the color, I like that deep dark gold color. I think that's going to be very nice on the page. So once the acrylic paint is on there to the intensity that I want, I'm just going to use my heat tool and dry it. You don't want to put the heat tool too close. It may melt the lace if it's synthetic. So there's the lace, and I'm just going to my Embrace Possibility pack this time. And the one quote was, "Don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits." I'm just using one part, and I'm just bubble cutting this, challenge your limits. And my idea here is to glue it onto the lace. And there we have it. 3 words, bubble cut. I could have put that one as well, but I opted not to. So now that I have a plan that I'm quite happy with, I want to glue that lace down. Now, because there's all these colors behind it, I thought to myself, I want the lace to stand out a little bit more. How can I get that effect? And I decided that I'm going to colorize it underneath, so it's one color, so that the lace kind of shines through. So I grabbed my charcoal pencil just to mark where that lace is, and then I'm just going to paint or give a wash of black. Now, I wonder if I had done white, how the lace would have stand out. So I'm just giving that a coat of black, and it does. It makes the lace stand out better than on that mottled background. But I think white might have worked as well. So once the paint is dry, I am going to glue the lace down with gel medium. I'm going to put a generous amount of gel medium and then press the lace into it and cover it with gel medium on top. And just cut off the excess. Would you use lace on your projects? So I grabbed some gold and I'm going to put a wash of gold over the lace and some of the girls' clothing, just to have that little bit of shimmer. It's hard for the camera to pick it up, but it does make a difference. So are you ready to vote? Which one do you like? The one with the lace? The one without the lace? The lace in vintage? Or the other one that started out very, very different? I'm giving it a wash of the gold or the yellow oxide. Again, I did to get rid of that white and adding a little bit more of that color into the background. And there's page 2. 2 different backgrounds using the same focal image. Which one do you like? Which one worked best? Or which technique do you like? So this, the vintage with the lace, or the teal with the swoop and the mandala? Take time, look at all the pictures and close-ups, and then be sure to vote. I'll be looking forward to the results. Until next time, go get creative.